Hey, you beautiful humans out there. This is Safora Ray, or for those of you who've never actually seen me other than some photos, Ricky Ray's wife, who was formerly in the ICU with heart failure. I've been out of the hospital for a month today, and just this past week I've started feeling a lot more adult human because I can walk a lot more and just do a lot more without feeling tired, and it feels excellent. I just want to thank all of you for all of your support. It was amazing to come out of my unconscious state and then out of my hallucinatory state because of all the drugs that I was on, and to read just all the things that you guys have written, the photos that you took for me so that I wouldn't miss out on springtime, which is my favorite season. Just everything you've done, helping us with funding, everything you guys have done, the memories that people have shared who've known me, from a long time ago. It's just wonderful, and I really appreciate it so much. This experience has been really something because I'd never even been in the hospital before, certainly never had surgery before. And then this happened, and I don't know if Ricky actually said or not, but they did the actuarials on my surgery, and there was apparently only a 0.41% chance that anything would go wrong, and I hit the craptastic jackpot on that one. But then afterward, as one of the surgeons that we were lucky enough to meet, who wasn't my surgeon but a really great person, told us, she said that even though that went so wrong, everything afterwards went so right. And I was just so lucky because my heart was in shock after what happened, and the initial triple bypass failed because of 2 blood clots, and the doctor opened me up and had to do them again, and fortunately did them in time to save me, because if he'd waited like 6 hours or more, I wouldn't have made it. And the second set of bypasses took, and so I was able to pump blood the way I needed to after. It's just that my heart was in shock after everything that happened, and I needed more help than that. And I got put on a machine called the ECMO machine, which oxygenates my blood and sends it back into my body to help take up to like 50% of the work away from my heart. And that's when I was moved from Danbury to New York Presbyterian, which is a place I absolutely love. Even though it's a place where, I went to because of bad stuff happened to me. It was an amazing hospital to be in, and everybody was amazing there, taking care of me and helping save me. And only 1 in 5 people, 20% of people, come off of the ECMO machine on their own. The rest of the people end up, the other 80% end up on LVAD, which is the battery system that helps your heart pump. And I was approved for that, and there were even talks of transplants. And at the end, my heart came through. I call it my mighty little heart, came through and started pumping better on its own, and has gotten stronger ever since. And I didn't end up having to have LVAD, and certainly didn't end up on the transplant list, which, not that I ever wanted to have a transplant. I mean, nobody does, but I kind of assumed that transplants mean that you're good to go for quite a long time again, kind of like, I don't know, getting a new engine in your car and you're good to go for X, thousands or tens of hundreds of thousands of miles or something. But that's not how transplants work at all. I was told that if I'd gotten a heart transplant and everything had gone well and the immunosuppressant drugs had worked, I would have been lucky, or anyone would be lucky, to get 10 years out of that heart before they would need a new heart. And that would mean that if I wanted to live even the average age or lifespan of a female in this country, I would have needed something like 3 hearts. So that would have been crazy. But my mighty little heart started pumping again on its own, and I have all my own parts still. And I've just gotten better and stronger ever since I woke up. When I woke up, obviously my brain didn't know what to make of this, because my brain, what I had assumed before was that I would wake up after surgery, and after, a few days in the hospital at most, or, 48 hours, I don't really know what it takes after surgery, I'd be able to go home. And so my brain didn't know what to make of all this. And so what my brain had thought is that I'd been kidnapped by crazy people from Danbury Hospital, and that in their efforts to heal me, they were actually torturing me with these devices that kind of spun me around and put scars on my skin. Like, that's what my brain made up. And it was really scary because I was on all these drugs. And as anyone who knows me, I don't do drugs. I've never even smoked a cigarette or pot or anything, and mostly because, well, I never cared to, but also never even been drunk, because I don't really care to have my brain function be altered. I like being in as much control of my brain function as possible. And they'd put me on crazy sedatives like ketamine and fentanyl and maximum doses. And for those of you who don't know, which, I didn't know necessarily either, ketamine is a horse tranquilizer. And apparently when they did this to me, I was not happy about it, and I fought. So I punched and I kicked, and I tried to get off the stretcher. They ended up having to tie me down. And I still was fighting, and Ricky actually asked them if they could do more to help control me so I wouldn't hurt myself, because when you're on the ECMO, you can't be moving around. It's very dangerous. It's pumping your blood for you to a large degree. And they told me that legally they couldn't do anything else. But I hated the feeling of being on so many drugs, and of course what I did made it worse because they gave me more drugs. And so I was hallucinating in a way I never expected to experience, because I never expected to try LSD or anything else, psychedelics or anything. It was a crazy experience, very scary. The worst of it was that I was really worried I'd never see Ricky again, because I just didn't know where he was. I think some part of me registered that he was there somewhere and talking to me, because he was there every day, but I still didn't really know where he was, and my brain couldn't figure it out. So waking up was amazing, and I was still hallucinating because I told Ricky that I wanted to get tattoos to cover up the scars that I'd been given by these crazy people, and he humored me and agreed that he would do it too. It took me a while to come completely out of that, because I was still seeing hallucinatory imagery. Like, it was just shifting and weaving images and colors, like crazy oranges and yellows, and like I was staring into the sun. It was crazy. But my head's cleared up a lot more. Unfortunately, it takes maybe 6 months to a year for all of this stuff to work its way out of my system. But I'm feeling a lot more with it now, and I can only be grateful for that. And this definitely does not make me ever want to become a drug user, because it is scary. It is scary stuff. But it was, in retrospect, now that I'm not so scared anymore from, being there, it was an interesting experience to know what it's like to hallucinate that way. Everything else, it's just taken time to get to where I am, and I've done quite well. And as crazy as it sounds, I've been very fortunate to have this happen to me at this age, because heart disease is still the #1 killer in this country for, I believe, both men and women. And a lot of times it strikes people without any warning, and also it strikes people when they're older. And so they often have more trouble. This is one of the reasons that only 1 in 5 people come off the ECMO machine, because they're older when this happens and their body just can't do it. And I knew that I had heart disease in my family because, we've had heart attacks in the family. My grandmother died from a heart attack in her early 50s. And so I knew that something was wrong and got the help that I needed. And I can only be grateful for that. And for everything and the way it's gone, I feel like my life is on a better trajectory now. That maybe I was stuck in a bit of a rut. And that my life is in a better trajectory now. So as strange as it might sound, I actually feel almost grateful for what happened, because it just feels like a reset. Like somehow my body, did electroshock therapy to itself or something. And I wish it obviously had gone better than it did. I wish I hadn't had to go into shock, because that creates other issues, like as in my heart can't be strained in any way in future. But this is the way it went. I'm here. I'm alive. I feel so grateful for everything, obviously for my husband, he's so amazing. He's such a wonderful human being, and that I get to be married to him is probably the greatest gift I've ever been given. And I hope that I am there for him in the same way, and that I can help him with his health struggles. We're going to work on that as we move forward and I get stronger, and just other stuff that we want to do, and we'll see what happens and what doesn't happen. Because if I've learned nothing else, is that you can't plan for anything, and what you think might be routine, which I thought this would be routine surgery, because lots of people get bypasses, and my dad had a bypass in 1989 and he was fine. And I thought, I'm young and it'll be fine. And it wasn't fine. And so you just never know. There's nothing really routine. And as they say, you can do all the planning you want, but most things don't necessarily go according to your plans. So we're just kind of enjoying our life together. We're going to make the most of all the time that we have, however long it is, because we just don't know what's going to happen to us in future. But I've survived this, and Ricky's hung in there himself because he's ended up in the emergency room the last week I was in the hospital with some left-sided weakness, and it turned out he had a 2mm aneurysm. And so we have to keep an eye on that. And our dog even ended up in the emergency room because she was very just kind of laying there and very unresponsive. And it turns out that she has an active Lyme infection, and also might have just been super hot because, you know, it's New York City and summer's nearing and it's very hot. So we've all kind of had our moments. We are definitely a funny little family, but we're getting through it all together. And I just really appreciate having your support, because there's definitely a time when I'd kind of lost faith in humanity, not individuals necessarily, but in humanity. And while I still look at just everything that humans are doing on this planet and to each other and feel horrified, you know, and wonder what the future holds, it warms my heart so much to know that there's so many good people out there, and that because there are so many good people out there, maybe there's hope, and I don't have to feel so hopeless and sad, and yeah, that the future can hold good things for all of us. And just thank you guys for being there for us very, very much. I'm not really a social media person, but if anybody wants to contact me about anything, my email is just my first name at gmail.com. And I actually do have an Instagram that I've hardly ever used, maybe a Twitter as well. So I'm not even sure what my handle is. I'd have to go check. And I do have a Facebook account, although I guess it's set to really private right now. But I can change that. But because I know that some of you guys don't even know me because you just know Ricky, and so you know me through him. But I appreciate everything that all of you have done, including internet strangers who just read about us and sent us, you know, funding, sent us their well wishes, and it's just really amazing. So thank you guys so much. I hope that you're enjoying this beautiful spring, which is rapidly turning into summer because it's a very hot day here today, and that you're all well, and that you all get your regular checkups so that you make sure that you're okay, and that, you know, whatever happens that we can't predict with our health, that you get treated early for things. Anyway, take great care, guys. I really, really appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.